You are listening to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, episode number 118.
Welcome to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, where you will learn brand new and shockingly different tools to lose weight for the last time. And now, here's your host, certified life and weight loss coach, Laura Conley.
Hello, Yummy Mummies. Welcome to the pod. I have one of my really good friends and colleagues and amazing coach and just awesome human. She just lights up the room. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see. Jamie Berman, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. So me and Laura are manifestation besties, and it's so fun. And we were just talking about body image, and I'm actually a money coach, a money manifestation coach, but we were talking about the similarities between money coaching and this work that we have done around our relationships with our body. And I had told her that that was probably like the thing that I am most proud of. One of the things that I'm most proud of in my life that was one of the most challenging was like fully healing my relationship with my body, fully healing that part of me that just hated my body, would always be super critical of it, felt like I was never thin enough, never, it's just like, it was a voice in my head that took over my life for the majority of my life. And it's something that I have done the work on to totally heal. And we were talking about it. She's just like, you know what? Why don't you come on the podcast and share all of your tips? So I am so happy to be here and share this.
Oh my God. I'm so happy that you're here too. Cause I'm like, who is like the best body image, like self-love, body love coach? And we're talking about it. And I'm like, actually, you're the best one, even though you're not an actual body image coach. I think you doing the work is really, that's all that really matters. Tell us why you're so proud. Like, why is it one of the things that you are the most proud of?
Yeah, because, for so much of my life, just to give you a little background, I was always a little overweight for most of my life. Once I hit puberty, I gained weight. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, so I have insulin resistance and can gain weight pretty easily. And so I really struggled with my body image since I was a kid. And I feel like for most of my life, all through my 20s, I would say like 70% of the thoughts that I would have in a day would be about food, about my body, about what I looked like, about being self-conscious, about, oh my gosh, did I eat too much? Do I look bloated? Right? It was just so consuming. And I always thought that the answer to that was to lose weight. So I was always dieting or up and down in weight, right? Doing all the trendy diets, trying to lose it. And I just remember it was this moment, whenever I was like 29 years old and I was about to get married. And of course, would want to lose weight for the wedding and all of that. And I wasn't able to. I remember I was just struggling. And this was before I got certified as a life coach, knew about the mindset work that we do that's transformational. And I just remember in that moment being like, wait a minute, because I was at probably my heaviest at that time. And I remember looking back and being like, wait a minute, I had done this diet and got all the way down to the lowest weight I ever had in my early 20s. I was just thinking back to some of these trendy fad diets that I've done where I had lost weight. And I just recalled for the first time, I was like, wait a minute. I have never actually felt at peace in my body. Even whenever I was at my tiniest, I would look back and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tiny in those pictures. And I remember back to when I was in that place. And I still thought I still felt overweight and I still thought I need to lose more weight. And I was never at peace. So I just remember that I finally was like, oh my gosh, I think I just want to manifest peace in my body. I just want to feel okay. And at that time I was like, I don't know if weight loss is the answer. I'm not going to try to just lose weight to do that. I kind of had this realization that, maybe this is a mental habit. It's not necessarily something that's going to be changed by losing weight again.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Because you're never done. You're never done. I remember having that same experience where I've talked about him on the podcast, but my crazy trainer, I got down. I was so tiny, so lean. And again, before I had really healed my relationship with food and my body through a lot of the mindset work that you just spoke about, and, you know, the emotional work too. And what's so interesting is I was like literally so tiny. I was like Katy Perry for Halloween and had like the cupcake bra and like the little like booty shorts or whatever. And I remember standing there and be like, yeah, but I could still lose more. And it's just a rabbit hole. Like you could just keep going. It's endless. And that is so painful and so brutal because it's like, oh, this thing that I thought was going to solve the thing didn't solve the thing. I still, because what we're seeking by wanting to lose weight is a feeling of peace or whatever, confidence,
freedom. Exactly. Totally.
So good. That realization is that's so insightful that you had that, because I don't think a lot of people get that. I think a lot of people just get back on the freaking roller coaster or the yo-yo and they're like, gotta go again, gotta go harder.
It took a lot of courage to do that because it meant that I would have to do the work on accepting my body, and that wasn't easy. That's why I say it's one of the things that I'm most proud of, because it was so hard. It was so hard. And it was so painful not going through that journey, but just before that journey. The pain of hating your body is really, really challenging when you live in it all day long.
I know. And that's why I'm like so passionate about encouraging you as the listener, right? And my clients too. That's why you have to love yourself then. That's why we do unconditional body love, unconditional the way your body looks love, and unconditional self-love inside the Yummy Mummy, is because like it just doesn't work the other way. We've already tried it. And that's why I asked that question too, is like, why are you so proud? Is because I think the things that we're most proud of are the things that take the most courage, and is so badass, because you're not going to get like a ton of external accolades for like loving your body, but totally. It's like, but you're with yourself all day, every single day. So you might as well try to love it and be courageous. And I think you're right too. Like, it's once you decide, okay, I am going to love my body, it's not that bad. It's like the deciding, the accepting, the like initial like pulling of the plug of like, this isn't working, we have to try a new way.
Totally. And it was a journey getting there. It took me quite a few years to get to the place where I'm like, I'm good with my body, you know, no matter kind of what it's doing or where it's at. It took quite a few years, but it was just that intention to, and it wasn't even like, it didn't even start off with the intention to love my body. It was just like, can I accept it? Can I stop thinking about this all the time and worrying about it? I don't want
to do this anymore. Like, I'm done doing this.
That was it.
Of the time.
That was it. Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's so resonant, and I think people can really probably relate to that, because Jamie and I were just talking about Googling and like keywords and AdWords before we got on the call, and it's like no one's Googling how to love my body. I mean, maybe a small percentage, but most people just want to stop hating their body or stop the experience of like being at war with themselves on a daily basis. And so I think that's like step one is you know, wanting to like end it. So.
And you know what why I think it takes a lot of courage to do that and to start doing that work is because I think a lot of people, myself included at the time, thought that if I stop hating my body, then I'm just going to eat whatever I want, gain a bunch of weight. Like it was like I had this thought that I have to hate it in order to get to the place I want to be. Well, if I like it, then I'll have no ambition to be healthy or to lose weight or to heal the PCOS and, you know, really get into the body that I most want. And that's the other thing is I had to learn that I can both love my body and want to lose weight or want to reduce my weight. You can hold both. It doesn't mean that if you love your body, well, then I'm just going to let go and never take care of it. And the wild thing is that for me, at least, the opposite was true. It was like once I actually started doing that work to accept my body and stop being so mean to it internally, then I started naturally wanting to take care of it. Like I realized, because whenever I was initially working with a body image coach, it was her whole philosophy was like, don't restrict foods, intuitive eating, whatever you want, eat it, And so I took that. And of course I was eating pizza and sandwiches and like desserts. I was like, well, this is what I'm craving. This is what my body's craving. And I started gaining a lot of weight. But what I realized was I feel horrible. Yeah. So I started realizing like, wait a minute, I don't actually want this, right? So I was like, if I'm loving my body, I'm not going to make myself feel horrible.
Yes.
So it was like that intention of starting to think about, oh my gosh, I noticed that this affects my mental health. This affects how I feel. This affects my insulin levels and my, blood sugar big time. So that affects my moods. And for me, I feel like I'm pretty sensitive to foods. So from that place of kind of going the opposite, I was like, this is actually not what I want. Yeah. Like what I really want. And if I really love my body, I just want to nourish it and take care of it, do what makes me feel my best.
Yeah, I totally experienced that too, because I was like, you know what? All these diets are not working. So I'm just going to love my body. But what I did was I fake loved my body. I just fake loved it because... And I think we all do that. Well, you know what? I'm just going to love my body and I'm going to eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And then I'm going to love the weight that I gain. But it's like, right? And then it's like, but that's not real love if you're feeding it like a bunch of chocolate cake and cookies and pasta. And for most of us, some of us, maybe that is love, whatever, right? Like no judgment. But I was calling it love. I was calling it self-care, but it wasn't because it wasn't actually a loving act. And that's why I like this idea of, hey, let's balance our hunger hormones before we start trying to eat intuitively, because our hunger hormones will just like disguise themselves as our intuition and be like, hey,
chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, we really want this. It's our intuition. And really it's just our hunger hormones being like, or our lower brains or whatever you want to call it, peer pressure, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that you speak to that because I don't think many of us have the map of like, okay, well, if I really want to love myself, like how do I do that? Or love my body, how do I do that? So how do you do that, Jamie?
Yeah. So whenever I started this journey, like I said, it was before I knew about mindset coaching. So I actually did I took actions that helped me love my body and did some kind of like exposure therapy. That's what the coach that I was working with at the time was supporting me around. So I did things like, well, number one, I really did a whole social media cleanse. So I unfollowed before this, my first career before coaching was I was a makeup artist. So I followed all of these models and, people with tiny bodies and all of that. And that's what I was exposed to all the time. So that's what I was always striving for. So I just decided to go in and do a cleanse and just unfollow all of that and start following women who had a similar body shape to me and women of all different sizes and body positivity Instagram accounts. And I just wanted to start consuming that to where I could start seeing like beauty in more than just a tiny body, And also what was really helpful is following like the models that had similar body shapes to me, because I could start to get inspiration in terms of, how do they dress? Right. Cause like before I would just wear all black. It was all very like hiding my body type of clothes. I didn't like to have anything that showed my shape or anything like that. And one of the other pieces of work that I did was I stopped waiting to dress nice. Like before that, I was like, I'm not going to buy clothes until I lose weight or until I'm here. Right. Yeah. But I mean, it's like, then I would just always be waiting. And I never had a closet that I liked. So I just started getting clothes that actually fit my body, getting inspired by these different models. Like I would look up curve models and natural models. That was actually one of the modeling agencies that I really loved, is Natural Models, because they have such a diverse group of models of all different shapes and sizes. So I followed literally every one of their Instagram accounts and just started getting inspired and started dressing myself nicely. I got my colors done so that I knew what kind of colors looked good on me. Because literally, like, Laura, you wouldn't even believe it. My whole closet was just like black. Everything was black, right? Because I thought it was the most, like, it would make me look the thinnest.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because the color stylist that I hired was like, no, that is not your color. Like, you are a spring. You're like, you need to be wearing color. So I started buying color. And one of the things that I did, because I did know that I would probably be losing weight, was I just started doing rental sites, like Rent the Runway, Newly, that kind of stuff, so that I could still dress myself up, but it didn't feel permanent. It wasn't like, oh, I'm investing in this whole new wardrobe when my body's changing.
Yeah.
But I started doing that. A big one that was so scary. It took so much courage. I hired a photographer and did a photo shoot because at that time I hated seeing pictures of myself. Like every time I saw a picture, I would just like cringe, and I wouldn't take that many. I wouldn't take full body shots. So I was like, this was also encouraged by my body image coach, was like, you need to do a photo shoot, full body images, get some cute clothes, right? Dress yourself up. And it's just like exposure therapy. Because if you never see yourself in pictures, you're always going to be surprised. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've had this experience, like before you started podcasting, I've heard other people say it, but like where it's like you hear the sound of your voice and you don't hear it often. So you're like, oh my gosh, I sound like that. What? I don't like that. I remember thinking, I don't like the sound of my voice. But now that I'm familiar with it, it's like, oh yeah, that's just me. And that's the same with pictures, right? Where like, I stopped being so critical because I just started getting used to actually seeing myself fully. And I did the work where I was like, I'm going to take a picture and I am not allowed to say a bad thing about it. I have to think a positive thought beforehand. And I'm going to decide ahead of time to have my own back and be kind to myself no matter what it looks like. And I kept doing that work and started doing pictures. I started doing videos, which was something I was terrified of, even like videos of my face. I didn't like seeing that, and so I started just doing them on my phone just for myself, not even posting them. Just getting familiar with my own body, and there's something amazing that happens when you do that over and over. Then it's like, oh yeah, this is just my body. That was huge for me.
Yeah. That's such a good takeaway, or such a good to do, because I've totally had that experience with my voice too. Or just seeing myself on, like, I don't even flinch anymore when I see like a video or whatever pop up on Instagram of me, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
There I am again.
I've seen it a million times. Yeah, exactly. It's so true. Yeah. We get so much programming and conditioning of like what's right and what's good and how you should look. It's like, it makes sense that we have to like reprogram our brain by showing our brain different things and more. Yes. Yeah.
And I think also some of the mindset work that I did was just realizing like, oh my gosh, we are not all made to look the same and to have the same size body. And what's healthy for me might look different than what's healthy for someone else. We're not all meant to be the exact same size and weight. And even looking at like my mom, who she has an athletic body, my sisters have athletic bodies. Like I'm just naturally a little more athletic, a little more curvy, and accepting that, like, oh, this is kind of my natural body type. I probably will never be a size 2. I could, but I don't think that would be the healthiest version of me. I don't think I would be getting all my nutrients,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. So how does one know? Like, how do you know you're really healed? Like, you've really done this. Like, you say it with such conviction. I love that. How do you know, like, wow, yep, I complete?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's because I have gained some weight back and I'm not triggered by it at all. At all. I've been going through like some little health things, and I put on some weight, and it's like, okay, that's fine. Like, I still love myself. It's fine. My body, it's like, I don't have any feelings of like, I look gross. This is awful. Oh no. Like in the past, it would have been, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that can ever happen. Like so much urgency to get it off. And now it's just like, there's this peace that's over me that's like, okay, I wonder what's going on here. Let's see. But it's from such a different place. It's like very patient, and
curious and just like, well, almost scientific. It's like kind of, I mean, that's what's so cool about the body is the body will like tell us if we're willing to listen. Like, you know, Jamie and I have connected a little bit on this too, because I'm dealing with some health stuff and some gut stuff. And, you know, it's a little TMI, but like sometimes I'll get bloated. Yeah. And before, like, you know, Laura, like 7-8 years ago, I would have been like disgusted and mad and like on a cleanse, like, you know, immediately. Yep. And now I'm like, oh, my body's just telling me something. This is like such a good cue or clue or whatever. Yep. And how can I, you know, help my body here instead of like punish it, basically. Yes. So, yeah, it's so interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I also notice that there are certain times of the month where my body thoughts can go negative, but now I kind of know the pattern. So it's like around my cycle or whenever I'm about to start. And of course, my body's just more inflamed, it's more bloated, but my brain will go into, oh no, you look terrible, right? All of this. So I'll notice thoughts that like, they kind of want to come in, but it's like, oh yeah, it's this time of the month. This always happens. You know what I mean? I just started to understand my brain's kind of like cycles around that and its thought patterns and its habits. So it's like, oh yeah, it's that time. No wonder my brain is offering these things, but what is real here? What is true?
So helpful. That's so helpful because I think sometimes people can think, oh, you're healed. Yeah. Oh, you have this positive body image now or neutral body image or whatever you want to call it now. Right. And it doesn't mean you're not going to ever have a negative thought. It's just the ability to be aware of them and then respond appropriately. Right.
That's it.
And that is, I'm so glad you got the right answer, Jamie. Because right, I don't want my clients to ever come and be like, Laura, I had this thought that, you know, I'm disgusting and gross. And it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you're healed. I think that's
absolutely
so powerful and profound, right? It's like, so good. I love that.
Yeah. Just get to know your brain a little bit, like watch its patterns. Watch it and just like neutrally, right? And get curious. You know what really helped me with that is like, okay, what are the facts? Going to the facts. And it would always be helpful for me to do measurements so that I could go look at the measurements. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so interesting how my brain is telling me that I look so fat and I look so this or that. But yet, like, I look at my measurements and they're the same. I'm like, what is that about? You know what I mean? Yeah. In my brain, I have this different visual. And I think it's because I grew up overweight. So I just had this, like body dysmorphia. Yeah. For a long time.
So why do you think that you can't hate your body thin? We touched on it a little bit. Yeah. But why doesn't that work? Like, why can't we beat ourselves up hard enough or punish ourselves enough?
Well, yeah. So I love this question. So I think we can. I just don't think you're going to get where you want to go. You can hate yourself, and lots of people do it. I've done it. But I didn't stay that way. Yeah. And I never achieved what I actually wanted, which is like the feeling of freedom and the feeling of peace. You can hate yourself thin, but you're going to hate yourself at thin too. You are. There's no way around it. The number on the scale does not change your brain's habits, its patterns, its thought patterns, right? The things that we think the most often about ourselves and our body, they're just like habits, right? They are patterns that come in that they cannot be changed when our circumstances change. It's just not possible because the number on the scale does not change your brain chemistry. It doesn't change your neural pathways, right? So you can hate yourself thin, but you'll get there and still hate yourself, most likely. Or you'll think I'm not thin enough or something else is wrong, or you'll be in complete fear of gaining weight again. So you just won't be at peace. At least I haven't met anyone who has. I personally haven't had that experience. And, I used to actually coach on weight loss, and I hadn't had any of that. It's like, I've never heard a client say, I've, hated myself then. And then I felt amazing and I was at peace and I never worried about food again. Right.
Yeah.
So
even though that's what our culture is teaching us, right?
Yes. Oh, totally.
It's just lose the weight. And then it's like the image of that free woman or happy woman.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're being sold all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like too, if that's where like that self-sabotage comes from, right?
Totally.
Like if we're over there being thin, but hating ourselves, we're going to eventually just go back.
Yes. And that's what I did for so many years. I would bounce back and forth and then go on another diet and lose weight again and then gain it back. And so I just think that if you want to actually lose weight and feel at home in your body, you have to do both simultaneously, which is heal your relationship with food, do the work that you're doing in Yummy Mummy, or as your listeners are doing, right? Yeah. And also work on your relationship with your body. Notice the thoughts that are most frequently going through your brain about your body, because if you don't change those, they're not going to change. Like if you don't do the work on them, they're not going to just magically change.
Yeah. And how do we do the work on them? Number one. Number two, what about those people that are out there that have their heads in the sand or kind of avoiding? Because I think I did that a little bit. Like I just wouldn't look in the mirror. I wouldn't like let myself hear my thoughts. Right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are like, it's the beating ourselves up or the body shaming that we do to ourselves or hating our body, whatever. I think a lot of it could be actually very subtle.
So true. Yeah, so true. I mean, yeah, I didn't notice it until I finally did, right? Where I was like, oh, I'm just miserable and no matter what, like I just realized it. But I think awareness is key. And just even if you're listening to this podcast, if any of this resonates with you, see what resonates and ask yourself, how do I feel? That's another indicator, is like, how do I feel about my body, about my weight? Because that's always an insight into your thinking, into what your most predominant thoughts are. So if you feel bad, if you feel ashamed, if you feel uneasy often about your weight or about food, ask yourself, what is this feeling here? Just get a little bit curious. What is this feeling? And what are the thoughts that I'm thinking that are creating that feeling? And you can start by journaling that out, write them down. It's always helpful to get them on paper.
Yeah.
I think the first step is always just to have the intention to kind of end that war with your body and have the intention to accept your body. And then from there, once you have that strong intention, then you can start doing the work to start noticing and becoming aware of what is going on in your brain. So thought downloads are really helpful, where you just, anytime you're not feeling good in your body, just go get out a journal, write whatever is coming up for you, however you're feeling, and then notice that like this is your thinking, and notice the thoughts that are coming up most often. And I think it's also helpful to recognize that you have the ability to change those. That's just the script that's running in your head. And you can choose a new way of thinking. Now, is this going to be the easiest thing you've ever done? No. Will it change your life? Probably yes. Is it worth it? 100%.
Yeah.
And also getting coaching, right? Like, I think that's the biggest thing is, if you're in Yummy Mummy, like, that's what coaches are for, is they help us see those thoughts that we just think are facts that
are driving
are just
lives.
thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And they're driving our lives. And that's why I always have a coach, is because I don't even notice sometimes. I'm like, I don't even realize what's going on. I just know that I don't feel great, or this isn't working.
Yeah.
So hiring a coach is helpful because they can help us kind of tease out the mindset and the perceptions that are just not not really useful and not helping us create the lives or the results that we want.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it's so interesting how your brain will just offer you these thoughts that you're like, no, that's definitely a fact.
Yeah.
It's definitely for sure. And that's what I love that you're bringing up the feelings work too, is because I love feelings, because usually it's like a check engine light, like, hey, something's off here. Hey, we do have something to tease out. Like there's an opportunity here, even though it might not be like the most comfortable one, but it's usually like, yoo-hoo, pay attention.
Yep.
Right? Especially if it's coming up again.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so good. Okay, so since you're an expert in manifestation, specifically around money. So you guys, Jamie's going to come and teach the Yummy Mummy Masters. So if you're in the Masters program, get really excited for that, because she's coming later this year to teach us a couple workshops on how to manifest money, all that stuff. So what comes up when I ask the question, like, how do you manifest a body you love?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Like, is that a thing?
Oh my gosh, of course you can. You can manifest anything.
Because I've literally heard manifestation experts talk about this. They'll be like, you can manifest I don't believe this, but they'll say, you can manifest anything you want except for body and health. And I'm like,
interesting.
Oh my God. Well, I'm not going to out them on the podcast, but I have heard that been said. And I'm like, that's such BS. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think manifestation is really just, it's aligning our thoughts, feelings, and actions with what we most want in our life, right? With the reality that we most want. So I don't know why you couldn't use it with body. I've used it with body, and I manifested a healthy relationship with my body. And it started with that burning desire to love my body and to be at peace. And I just remember, I had conversations with God where I'm like, please help me with this, because it is so annoying and so frustrating. And I had this burning desire to do it. And then we just have to believe that it's possible, and we can start taking baby steps there. And it's just starting with that intention. And then it's like thinking about, one way you can use manifestation is to think about, who do I want to be? Go to the visual of, how do I want to think about my body? How do I want to feel in my body? How do I want to treat my body? What do I want for my body? Right? Asking these kind of questions, and go to that. Write it all down, get really, really crystal clear on what your desire is, and then start practicing that. Start practicing thinking those thoughts now.
Yeah. Yes, totally. It's the map, right?
Yes. Yes. It's like becoming an energetic match to your desire.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite questions. It's like, how do you think you're going to feel over there in your dream come true body? And how can you feel that feeling right now? How can you practice feeling that feeling right the second? It's so good.
Yes. And we can do that because our feelings are not created by our body. They are created by our thoughts and how we think. So you can absolutely practice that feeling now. You just have to practice thinking in a new way. And that's just going to be the work. That's the practice. You have to build the muscle in your brain of thinking nice things about your body and practicing it over and over. It's like doing reps in the gym. Like if you want strong arms, you have to do reps. Well, same with your relationship with your body. If you want to have a great relationship with it and feel at peace, you have to continuously think the thoughts that create peace for you.
Yeah. And I love that definition of relationship too, right? Like that our relationship with our bodies or food or other people is literally just our thoughts about them. So we have to practice thoughts. And then I'm guessing some people out there will be like, well, but I don't believe those thoughts, or those thoughts don't feel true or right about my body. So what would you say to that? Because I think that that's like a misnomer out there, is that like, and I think that's why sometimes like affirmations or mantras get bad rap.
Yes.
Right. So would you speak to that a little bit? Like, how do we think good thoughts? How do we do these reps in a way where we can at least like partially believe?
I love that question. So I think the reason that I love going through that exercise that I just gave of writing those different things out, how you want to think, how you want to feel, how you want to treat your body, like what is the ideal, go there. It may feel like it's very far from where you are, but just knowing where you're headed is really important. It's like plugging it into the GPS system. That's what manifestation is, right? We want to know, like, what are we plugging in? And then what you want to do is just like take the first route, which that might be, it's like, oh, what can I believe now that is closer to that?
Yes.
Right. A little bit closer to that. So it may be something like, I am just going to start thinking like, I've heard a lot of people say, I have a body. That's a helpful, like, first thought. Instead of I hate my body, move into I have a body. This is my body right now. Mm-hmm. This is where my body is right now. Mm-hmm. I have a unique body. We don't all have the same body, right? Like, it doesn't have to be, I love my body.
Right. Yeah. Because I think so many people think that they're like, well, if I'm going to go on this body love journey or this me not hating my body journey, then I'm going to have to think thoughts like I love my body. And then those will just fall so flat for so many of us, especially at the beginning. Eventually they won't, which is super fun. But I love that. Yeah. I think it's at least in our circles, right, that thought gets thrown around a lot, like I have a body, but I think the reason why is because it works.
Yes. And another thing that I had found helpful was it was almost like setting a boundary that I just like whenever I would notice myself getting into that cycle of hating it or looking in the mirror and telling myself, oh, this is so gross. Oh, I want to change my outfit. I mean, I would change my outfit like 10 times in the morning. It was a thing. And I would just stop myself. So instead of practicing an intentional thought, I would just have this boundary where I'm like, I just don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, we just don't think about this anymore.
Yes.
Let's move on. And I would try to like think about something completely different, like, oh, where am I going today? Or something else, what am I going to have for breakfast? I would just try to change change the station in my mind. So it wasn't even necessarily like thinking, oh, I love my body whenever I totally wasn't there. It was just like, oh yeah, we don't do this thing anymore. Like we don't sit here in front of the mirror and criticize ourselves anymore.
Yeah.
And I had to practice that. So it can be just letting go of and practice like disregarding the thoughts that you can tell are just not useful, not helpful. And even now, right, where like whenever I have my cycle and like I get bloated and my brain will go, oh my gosh, what happened? Are you gaining weight? And I'm like, no, we don't, it's just like, no, we don't think that way anymore. Remember, we're just on our cycle. It's fine. We're going to go back.
This is what always happens.
Yes, this is what always happens. Thanks, brain. But no, thanks. We're not going there today.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I think that is so profound. To make a decision. Like that's what you're saying, right? You just decided and then you draw a line in the sand so that your brain just can't get away with as much shit anymore because your brain's gonna forever probably try to like want to hate your body or like offer a thought that's rooted in not self-love, right? Or not body love. And great. Like that's what our brains are gonna brain. Like, and it's just drawing the line in the sand of like, no, I don't engage with that. I change the radio station every time that radio accidentally comes on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a practice. And what I have noticed is that as I have done that of changing the radio station, just kind of disregarding, stopping it, it doesn't come in as often, right? Like throughout the years, it slowed down. And like I said, this took me probably like 5 full years to, it's not more, maybe 6 years to really get to the place where I feel like, oh my gosh, I just don't get triggered anymore. But yeah, I think the more you stop it, it just...
to become more like autopiloted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it doesn't come in quite as often at all. I mean, it used to, like I said, it used to probably consume my brain like 70% of the time because there was so much momentum, and I just slowed the momentum down. That's what we want to do.
Totally. I love that. So it's not like the automatic radio that's always on just when you turn your car on. It's just 90% of the time another radio station.
Yeah.
Sometimes your kids come into the front seat and change the channel or whatever, your phone defaults or whatever.
Yep.
But you can just change back. It's so good.
Yes.
And I love that you just she just said it, you guys, without even any pause, right? She's like, yeah, it took me 5-6 years. And I could just hear the audience being like, holy shit, 5-6 years. You guys, that's literally no time. In the grand scheme of time, so you can either spend a couple years or you can be 89 and hate your body.
Yeah,
and do this
right.
For the next 40 years. Somebody was just telling me about how their mom was complaining about their body. Their elderly mother was complaining about their body. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, unless we stop it, it's just keep going. It's not like we
so true.
Turn 66 and just stop.
Yes.
No, we have to actually do the work.
That's it. And you have to remember also every year got better and better. So every year felt like a massive improvement. So even 6 months into this journey, I was feeling a lot better. It's like the station was only playing 50% of the time, and then it moved down to 25%. You know what I mean? So it's like, I felt like there was continuous improvements, and there's no timeline on it. That was just my journey.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well,
I feel like it's so worth
momentum. Even after 6 months, like you're saying,
yeah.
then you've got momentum to fuel you. It's not like this really steep uphill battle after just a teeny bit, really.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I think that first step of deciding is the hardest step.
Yeah.
And then everything else is, sometimes there's challenging parts for sure.
Yeah. And one thing I actually forgot to mention, which is so funny, right? We're talking about body and how this, right, around weight loss and stuff is actually, once I started doing this work, that's when I started losing weight. So I actually lost 50 pounds naturally without any diet, right? In terms, I did a protocol that I created for myself, but it was very simplistic. It was very loving. It was very clear. It wasn't like I had to take any kind of pills or do anything weird. You know what I mean? I wasn't counting everything that was going into my body and stuff like that. It was really simple, but it was I finally got to the place where I was at peace with my body. And then it actually made losing weight so much easier because I wasn't in such a rush.
Yes. And why weren't you in a rush? I mean, I know the answer. I could guess.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about that, because so many people probably can't identify with that, because weight loss is such a rush. It's such a hustle.
Yeah, I know. It used to be for me, for sure.
Not in the yummy mummy. Not for
no,
Jamie, not
exactly.
the yummy mummy. No, we're not rushy.
Why aren't you in a rush whenever you're in this place where you're learning to love your body? Is because you know that losing weight isn't going to solve every problem in the entire world. You realize that, for me, I had to do the work where I realized that I was worthy no matter what my weight was. And I wasn't going to magically be a worthy human being whenever I was at this really small size. So I untied that link that I had unintentionally made, that so many of us just from our culture have made, that the size of our body has to do with our worth. And once I kind of detached the two, then it was oh, I'm worthy and I can accept my body where it's at. It's good. And I can lose weight as well. Yeah. But I wasn't in a rush because I knew that I was going to get there. I just knew it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much peace in that too. And inevitability around it. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I don't know, it's we have this one precious life. Let's enjoy it. We're going to do our goals. It doesn't mean to not have to throw them all away, but let's enjoy it. And why not? What's the other choice?
Right. Exactly.
And I love what you're saying too. And Jamie and I were making the like kind of connection between money. So if you've ever had like a money goal, right, and you've gotten to the money goal, most likely you just want more money after you get to that money goal because you haven't changed your thoughts and you're just like, it's just a desperate hustle that's never ending.
Yeah.
It's the same with weight loss. If you know that you are worthy and good enough and valuable because you literally breathe air and because you exist, because you were born, and that's, you know, another thing that we learn in, you know, our kind of coaching circles or whatever, but and inside the Yummy Mummy, it's so nice. And you can just want more money without hanging your worth up against you achieving that goal or not. It's
totally. Yeah. We were just talking about how similar, like, because I do money coaching and I used to do weight coaching, and how it's so similar in terms of what I do, because I felt like for so many years I was trying to lose weight out of hating my body. Mm-hmm. And for so many years I was trying to make money from scarcity, and neither of them ever worked, and it never felt good. And it wasn't until I started doing the work to accept my body that I actually lost the weight and like lost it for good. And then with money, I didn't start actually making money till I could get myself to a place of abundance and acceptance where I was. And then it was so much easier to create money and manifest money.
Oh, that's so awesome. And it's just a more peaceful experience when you're in the journey of too.
Oh my gosh.
The only way to really do it is to do it from a place of acceptance and abundance and like good enough. Like you're already good enough. You can't earn it. And if you do try to earn it, you know, your good enoughness through like your weight on the scale or the number in your bank account, it's never going to stop. You're just going to keep going for more and more and more.
I know. Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We've tried it, right? I'm sure so many of the listeners, you've tried it. Has it worked?
Yeah.
Probably not.
That's like really great. It's really great data. Like we already tried that like 29 times.
Yep.
Doesn't work. Let's try it another way. That's going to be way more enjoyable. People are always like so surprised. They're like, you said it was going to be fun and enjoyable, but I didn't believe you. And it actually is fun and enjoyable. Oh,
I think it's also knowing that, just to go back to that question, why was I able to be patient with it? Mm-hmm. I think I also finally realized that like, once I get there, I'm going to be following the same plan as I am now. Whereas I used to think once I get there, I can eat whatever I want and I'll be free. But like, no, it doesn't really work that way. You know? So I like had to actually make peace with food and heal the emotional eating. And I realized like, oh yeah, whenever I get there, it's pretty much going to be the same. I'm just going to be in a smaller body, but it's not like something massive is going to change in my life, right? So it's easier to be patient and enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, I think we should end on that unless you have anything else you feel like the listeners need to know.
I think we covered it. I love this topic so much. And I'm so grateful you had me. I love sharing this stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you guys are listening on the day that this is coming out, it's Valentine's Day. So this kind of wraps up our little mini kind of impromptu series that we did. If you haven't listened, I did a podcast on like what real self-love is and answering the question, which we kind of touched on today too, of like, can you want to lose weight and love yourself, or does it mean that you don't love yourself if you do want to lose weight? And so today kind of wraps up our 3-parter self-love series. Like, I like Valentine's Day. I know some people like hate it or like, you're like, oh my God, it's such a Hallmark holiday, but like, whatever. I mean, who cares? Like every day could be Valentine's Day. Every day could be a day for more love, but why not focus on it for the day or the week or whatever. I think
treat yourself.
Yeah. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. Not with candy. No, I'm just kidding.
No, exactly.
Jamie, tell us where we can find you. So if the people want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, you can come hang out with me on Instagram. That's where I hang out the most often. So I'm at Jamie Berman _. And if you want to check out my work around money and manifesting money, which is kind of similar to the conversation we had around body love in an interesting way, right? It's where we learn to be in a state of abundance and get out of scarcity so that we can learn to manifest. My website is jamieberman.com.
Oh my God, I love it. So good. Okay, you guys, let us know if you like this conversation. If you have any more questions or topics around this really nuanced topic, I would love to hear them so that we can talk about it more on the podcast. Go leave a rating and a review. And if you are not on the wait list for the Yummy Mummy experience, make sure you go to lauraconley.com and get yourself on the wait list. We are going to open doors late March for the April round of the experience where we lose weight for the last time by loving ourselves. It's amazing. So go get on there. Thanks again, Jamie. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Love you so much.
Love you.
Hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, I would love it if you leave a rate, review, and a subscribe on whatever you're listening to this podcast in. Pretty pleased with a cherry on top. It would help me so much, and it would help all the other mamas out there hear this message. Thank you in advance. I really appreciate it. And you have to come check out the Yummy Mummy experience. It's my proven lose weight for the last time group coaching and course. Head to lauraconley.com and just click work with me. Other than that, you guys, I would love to give you a free gift. If you want your free listener only gift, go to lauraconley.com/gift. And from there, you will get your free best ever weight loss hack. So cool. The last thing I want to tell you, you guys, is I do have a free Facebook group. It's called, you guessed it, the Yummy Mummy. Lose weight for the last time, end body drama, and get food freedom. You can just search that in Facebook, or again, you can head to the show notes and you'll find the link there. All right, you guys, have the best day ever.